Taylor is getting ready. Yep, there we go. Thank you, John.
Okay, call to order. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied by the placing of a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board at the municipal building, filing the notice with the township clerk, and transmitting the notice to the Hunterdon County Democrat, the Courier News, the Star Ledger, and the Trenton Times.
Roll call, please.
Chairman, Mr. Edward Gettings has asked to be excused. Vice Chair, Ms. Donna Drews.
Here.
Ms. Robin Fatu has asked to be excused. Mr. Scott McDade.
Here.
Ms. Michelle Cavacari.
Here.
Mr. Dennis Concanon.
Here.
Mr. James Miller.
Here.
Mr. Glenn Sokolowski.
Here.
Board Attorney, Mr. John Bellardo.
Here by telephone.
Township Planner, Mr. Jeffrey Vaccarella.
Here.
And all other board professionals have asked to be excused.
Thank you. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And I'll ask you to join me for a moment of silence afterward to remember the men and women serving in the armed forces.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America, and to the for which it stands, one nation, under God.
Thank you. All right, we'll start with comments and reports. I don't have anything as the acting chairman this evening. Anything from the board?
No.
Anything, no engineering report, planners comments, Jeff, at this time?
No, just that there's a TRC meeting scheduled for the September 30th for two applications, Flemington Associates 2, Junction Associates 2, warehouse on Mini Accounting Road, and European Homes subdivision.
We have not confirmed that one,
Yeah,
so
yeah. So just one.
What
Okay.
time does it start again?
9 a.m.
9.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Anything from you, Mr. Bellardo?
No, thank you, Vice Chairwoman.
All right. Okay, correspondence, discussions, and recommendations. First in the agenda, we have ordinance of the Township of Raritan amending section 296, 131 entitled Schedule of Controls of chapter 296 entitled Land Development of the Code of the Township of Raritan to establish a prohibition on shipping containers throughout the township. And this is a master plan consistency. And in our packets, we received a copy of the proposed ordinance that was sent to us for consistency review by the Township Committee. Jeff, would you like to provide some background context and some master plan comments on this for us?
Yes, so the reasons of it not being inconsistent with the master plan is that it actually provides context to a regulation that's in place that has been really regulated by the boards, and there's been the applications in front of the Board of Adjustment where D variances would be required just because it's just not a permitted use and was designated as prohibited. There's been many applications where there was talks of the temporary shipping container on sites, shipping containers where uses it wasn't consistent with the use on the site, and there's been residential properties where shipping containers are used for storage and creating hoarding uses on site. So this is really, it's more of a context for a regulation that's been enforced and regulated by boards. And also there's reference to tractor trailer units being stored, which there are consistent regulations in the sections regarding tractor trailers being used for storing goods are not permitted. So this is reestablishing that regulation.
Okay. Any questions regarding this ordinance or?
Yeah, what is the timeline? I mean, it says prohibited in all zones. Does it say 30 days, 15 days, 60 days? Because shipping containers, this is what they're designed for. And ISO tanks specifically, you can get into where that's the purpose is for it to be a land storage for a short period of time, before it's unloaded. I mean, everything you're going to run into now with the ports shutting down. Anybody that received a container now will be in violation of of an ordinance and they can't get it moved. So because they've received it in good order, they've got 30 days to return it, they're unloading it under order. What is the time frame that you're considering storage?
Typically, in all of the examples that I've come across of, they store the shipping container for more than 30 days and it's not part of any operation. They've purchased the shipping container and they're using it.
Part of green initiatives in transportation is use rail containers with ISO tanks, which they're designed to sit for about 2 months between rotations. So I think
So is
you
this,
got to define the timeline of
Mhm.
storage. And then there also must be exceptions because there are unusual exceptions. This port strike is going to happen right now. It's going to create big exceptions, as it did during COVID, where people had to sit on things for 6 months in the normal course of business. So
so
I
if,
think we just need to be clear.
yeah, is this, so in a business zone, if someone had tractor trailer parking and it was part of their business activity and it came before the board, this ordinance would not prohibit that type of an activity that previously had gotten approval.
No. I
So-
mean, if they got approval for that operation,
Mhm.
Say that again, Donna. You lost me.
So
Yeah, I mean-
I'm thinking of Johanna Farms.
Mhm.
They have tractor trailers that come in there every day.
Wait, is it tractor trailer?
That
Can-
if
from
they,
a sto- from a
so
shipping
if they
container?
take the trailer off and park it,
It says ISO tank container is a bulk, intermediate size container, C containers, transmodal containers, and transportation from tractor trailer units
Okay.
that remain in a stationary location. I think we have to define stationary location and what that means.
okay, that could be a recommendation back
helpful.
to the township committee then to, my impression is this is to keep people from like, the hotel.
Making them permanent.
Well,
Right, putting
you know,
a trailer in the backyard and putting all their linens in it and calling it a permanent storage place. Or residents
Yeah.
getting tracked,
Storing
yes,
thousands of jeans and storage containers.
Right,
Yes.
because you have-
That have become a de facto warehouse. That's fundamentally different than people who just have too much supply because of the port shutdown.
Correct, right.
Yeah,
No, I agree.
Now, granted, that's not specified in
Right.
here, but those are two fundamentally different purposes.
100%. And I think maybe, you can get into purpose, or you
Yes.
can get into timeframes. And I think that's where we have to put the fences on.
I was assuming you're leaning more towards what I was
yes, exactly.
saying. I know you're not trying to hose the local businesses. It's
Yeah.
just-
No,
Yeah,
No.
It's somebody, right now, there's a whole cottage industry on
You being-
taking containers that are no longer fungible in the ocean market, and they sell them and people turn them into homes. They do become an extension. I just looked at a place, where was I? And they had put 2 on the roof of the building and cut them out and made them into outdoor patios with a shelf. So I understand what you're saying, and I think we have to.
And that's also a distinction because there are residents that come in with a spec shipping container with windows, doors, something that really doesn't look like a traditional.
They're sold that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are
I was
many,
actually
many
thinking that
homes.
when I read this, but I'm like, no, that's gotta be totally different.
Yeah, and so I'm just saying is,
Yeah.
we
So-
want to be accepting to the businesses and not define it, but we need to put an ordinance to make sure that people don't set these up and put a container there, and the next thing they're set for you. I can tell you, I see plenty of places that are doing that.
Yep.
So John, we can go back with some general recommendations around improvements as well as a finding of not inconsistent.
That's correct. The statute under the municipal land use law allows you to make a finding of not inconsistent or inconsistent. Plus, as I've often said, you have the ability to make recommendations to the township committee concerning the ordinance that's been introduced. And that would be in a report that would go from the board secretary back to the township committee clerk.
So do we have consensus around, it sounds like, they might want to reevaluate timing of storage. Yeah, a little bit more detail on that to differentiate between a business activity versus just the parking of a trailer. You know, I mean, that's the
Yeah.
shorthand words for it. You can suss it out. And then it sounded like, what was the second?
Stationary location.
Yeah.
So that, the
Define.
definition just.
And then I think at some point, they may want to look at further clarification of the definition when a shipping container is used as an accessory structure as opposed to a storage unit. So, because it seems like, yeah, we do see
So
that
just-
happening.
Yeah, distinction between the structure and the use of the
Yeah,
structure.
yeah. So, those would be,
And I would recommend that before the report, go back to the township committee clerk, that both Donna and Glenn have a chance to review it and make any necessary revisions. Glenn certainly seems to have a technical expertise in this area, so that should be done before it goes over to the clerk.
that sounds like great advice. It's nice to have a logistics person here to.
And can you put in a clause for strikes, or I don't know what you, extraordinary circumstances? I don't know, something like that, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah, or like a temporary. I mean,
Just-
sometimes if there's a construction on site, we'll say, have a shipping container for either an office or even their materials or something. That's been very
Permitted.
common.
If
Yeah.
the strike's going on and it's there more than, say, the cutoff is 30 days, you don't want everybody to have to come in before the planning board to get
Right.
an exception,
Yeah.
because they just can't use it.
Yeah.
Even though they want it.
Okay,
And the environmental thing you mentioned too, that's spelled.
Yeah, because the world's changing really fast.
One thing you might want to consider is adding some verbiage in there to prohibit somebody from moving that trailer across the parking lot on day 28.
Yeah.
And then turning around and saying, oh, it's not stationary, move.
Right.
That's.
We could put something as on site
Yeah,
where, because either way, they're gonna have to, wherever it is, they're gonna have to apply for a permit. So it's gonna be exact for that. So yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
okay. All right. So can we have someone, a motion, and a second for that, please? Going forward with the recommendations that we came forward with,
The recommendation.
that it is not inconsistent with our master plan to the township committee.
Oh, was that you making a motion, Michelle, or no?
Sure.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
What they said.
What they said.
I'll second. Someone else wants it.
Okay. Vice Chairwoman, Ms. Donna Drews,
Yes.
Mr. Scott McDade,
Yes.
Mr. Dennis Concanon,
yes.
Ms. Michelle Cavacuri,
Yes.
Mr. James Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Glenn Sokolowski.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda, we have a request for the use of planning board funds to conduct traffic studies in the township. Township committee did reach out to our traffic consultant to ask for some support in coming up with studies. I don't know, you want to speak to this at all, Scott, or,
Well, I don't know how much I can.
well, you could
go
just
into,
say,
but yes,
yeah,
we are concerned with traffic, Pennsylvania Avenue there, overweight trucks, truck driving school, people going too fast, heading towards Route 31. So there's things we'd like to do, but we have to look at what the traffic conditions are now, the traffic patterns. So we need to study to do some of the things, changing speed limits or putting weight limits on the roads, whatever we come up with. So
Gotta figure out what to do, basically.
right,
what leads to.
Yeah.
yeah.
So the traffic studies for River Road. Pennsylvania
There's-
All right, wait.
There's-
Can
there's
I get you
sorry,
guys
I
into the
was-
microphones?
Yep,
Can we
I
get
was,
this
I was
information?
just, I meant,
there's two of
I
them.
meant Pennsylvania Avenue and River
Yeah.
Road on the far side, I believe, so.
Yeah, so there's two traffic studies, one for the Pennsylvania Avenue Yards Farm Site, and the second is for the River Road traffic study to evaluate roadway conditions along River Road and surrounding areas.
Makes sense to do them both.
Yeah.
Because up by Route 202, right, you can barely make that little S turn, so.
So Jeff, because it's coming out of our budget, I assume we should do a motion and a roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes. yeah.
Okay, so basically this was a request from from the Township Committee to utilize planning board funds to conduct these studies.
I didn't know we had planning board funds.
I was just wondering the same thing.
Do we have enough funds to cover it?
Why is it the first time I'm hearing about this?
I would,
Missing
We-
out on
yes, I will say,
Yeah. To answer your question, there are funds to cover this.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah. So can we have a motion to approve the use of the funds to conduct these two studies?
Well, can I first ask a
Sure,
question? Is
absolutely.
there any reason why we wouldn't want to use these funds, use planning board funds for this?
So, I mean,
Yeah,
the-
I guess that's a more direct
I
The
don't-
intent, so the intent is always to provide some funds in case the planning board wants to do a circulation study or any master plan
Okay.
studies. That's really what the money was for. This is kind of in conjunction
So
with
it's
it a little
really-
bit.
It's a really an applicable use of planning board funds. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine with me. Thanks.
All right.
So they're two separate studies. Is there a reason they're two separate? Because they're so interrelated? Because two separate studies can come up with two different conclusions without being interrelated. And these are two very
I-
interrelated.
Well, they are in the art. I think it's the distance between the turning points and radius and where the traffic impact's coming from. So I would guess that's why probably they were broken out.
It's probably a half mile apart or whatever.
Yeah.
Now
So-
think of it maybe as a two complementary.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
because they are interrelated,
Yes.
Like why you put PB and J in the same shop.
but not the brand.
Okay, come on, guys. All right, so any more questions or discussions? All right, can we have a motion to approve the use of the funds for the two proposed traffic studies?
Second.
Vice Chairwoman, Ms. Donna Drews,
Yes,
Mr. Scott McDade,
Yes.
Mr. Dennis Concanon,
Yes.
Ms. Michelle Cavacari,
Yes.
Mr. James Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Glenn Sokolowski.
Yes.
all right, thank you. There are no minutes for us this evening or resolutions. There are no citizens in the audience. I'll note for the public record, and no public hearings. One last thing before we officially adjourn, I will mention that Ed and I have been working, we spoke at our last meetings about requesting that the Township Committee provide some funding in future budgets to do a complete circulation plan. And what was the second one?
Stormwater,
I'm sorry.
stormwater.
And yeah, an updated stormwater management master plan element. So that memo will go out this week asking that those things start being looked at. And I know the Environmental Commission is looking at potential for natural resource inventory update as well. So, all right, thank you very much. I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All right, adjourned.
18 minutes. Good job.
Thanks, John.
He already hung up.
Okay.
Well, he's away, right?
No
That is-
sense.
Yeah, he's in Maine, yeah.
Oh,
All right.